All right, thank you everyone for coming. We're super excited to have Kevin here. We're going to actually start with a prayer. Is there anyone that would mind offering that?
I'll be happy to do that.
Thank you.
Heavenly Father, we're thankful to have this event today. We're here to learn from Kevin and to learn from each other. We want to make improvements in our lives that will be able to better serve other people. So therefore, we ask for thy Spirit to be with us. Help us to have a good day and a good experience. And this we say in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Chet. Okay, so let me give a brief introduction. We are delighted to have Kevin R. Miller as our special presenter today. Kevin was raised in California and served his mission in Indonesia, then graduated from BYU in business management in 1978. He also received his commission from BYU ROTC that same year and served a full active duty career as an Army officer, including as a company commander in the 7th Infantry Division and tours in both stateside and Germany. Thank you for your service, Kevin. Kevin retired from the Army in 1996 and founded his international training and consulting company, Vision Bound International. Since then, he has presented programs on leadership, strategic planning, and customer service to teams and people all around the world, from Asia and Africa to Europe and South America. He is the author of Customers Only Want Two Things, the topic he will be presenting on today. Kevin lives in Springville, Utah, with his wife Denise and has 4 children and 6 grandchildren. He and his wife will be presenting at BYU Education Week this year, as they have done for the last 17 years. So if you want to see him again, jump on that. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the time over to Kevin.
All right. Am I on? Can you see me? All right. Good, everyone. Well, I'm excited, and I promise you no death by PowerPoint today. We're going to have an interactive experience about how do we win loyalty. Now, first of all, she said I've been working all over the world, and so everywhere I go, I pick up magic wands, and I keep hoping they're going to work as a consultant. I could just wave them around, and you guys would all have all your dreams come true, your companies be successful, you lose or gain weight, whatever you need. But you know what? There are no magic wands. You know, becoming a success requires work. But if there was a magic wand to success in business, it is what I call CX, the customer experience. And you may have heard that term, customer experience, CX. And you know, we've all had terrible experiences with customer service. I mean, I've had customer service that just was awful, to the point where I'd never go back if it was the last place on earth. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. But I've also had these experiences where people won my loyalty. And what we're going to learn about today is there's a big difference between customer satisfaction and customer loyalty. In fact, I wish you would just delete from your mind the idea of satisfying your customers, because your competitors already are. What you want is loyalty. So let's learn about that. I'm going to start sharing my screen. And there we go. All right. So now what we want to do, though, is to get started is we want to make sure that you first of all have printed off this packet. If you haven't printed it off, it's okay. You should have it in front of you, because you're going to take notes on this thing, and we're going to have an activity with it, especially with those 16 cards on pages 3 and 4. So we're going to have some fun with this thing, and you're going to make a commitment at the end on page 6 of the things that you're going to learn to apply what we're talking about. So I hope we have some fun. Now, I became very intrigued years ago by a book. I wish I had the title of the book. I wish that was the title of my book. But Jeffrey Gitomer wrote a book that said, customer satisfaction is worthless. Customer loyalty is priceless. How to make customers love you, keep them coming back, and tell everyone they know. So the question is why would he say that customer satisfaction is worthless? Let me just ask anybody. Why would you say it's worthless really to just satisfy a customer? Just somebody answer that. Go ahead.
Well, I don't know. When I think of satisfy, I feel like that's almost the bare minimum. Like you kind of have to go above and beyond to really retain and exceed expectations. Like satisfy is like meet expectations, I should say.
Yeah, I'm not going to walk out of Smith's going, wow, they had eggs and milk. I expect them to have eggs and milk. So good answer, Sean. And I think we understand. So what we're going to be talking about is how do we win loyalty? How do we make that happen? So I wrote my book, Customers Only Want Two Things. If you'd like a copy, email me, but it's on also for sale on my website and stuff like that. But we're going to learn what these two things are. Customers only want two things: winning loyalty in a competitive world, and we are in one. So I made a 4-hour workshop that goes along with this, and I've taught it to thousands of people all over the world. And one of the main products in the workshop is this deck of cards. And this deck of cards has 33 cards on how to give a great customer experience. All right. So in the workshop, people go through this and make their own plan about how they're going to give great customer service. Now, I've given you 16 of those printed out in your handout, and that's the activity that we're going to do. But then I have about 20 other quick cards on all kinds of topics. So what we're going to do today is have a little understanding of this concept, and I hope you really enjoy it. Okay, so the word is loyalty. Loyalty is a deep emotion. Think of who you're loyal to. I'm loyal to my country. That's why I served her as an Army officer. I'm loyal to my family. I'm loyal to all kinds of things. And when you think loyalty, it's a deep feeling, a deep emotion. And I love this picture of this dog leaning her head. Now that's loyalty, man. When you get your customers to just lean their head on you, and just be devoted to you, it is a deep emotion. So we're going to play around with that for a minute. So these are a few of my favorite brands. All right. If I just think of brands, I love Amazon Prime. I mean, I get something every week from Amazon, Hilton, Costco. I do a lot of cruise. I've been on 50 cruises, teaching history and culture lessons around the world. Silver Sea, I'll be on them at the end of July. Fantastic cruise line. And of course, Apple and USAA has served me as an Army officer for many, many years. So my question is, we're going to have a little chat here about what is a brand or a company that you're not just satisfied with, but you're loyal to. So what logos would you put on that screen? So I'd like you to answer that in a chat, and I'm going to put this in right now. What is a company you're loyal to? I'm going to type this in, and I want everybody.
We've got Costco, Apple,
Okay, yeah, just read them off to me. Okay, Costco, Apple, what else?
Amazon, Vortex, Southwest, Dell, Hilton,
It's interesting that some of those are ones that were on my list,
Mary Kay, State Farm, Express Oil Change and PG, Progressive Insurance, Chaco,
Okay, That's good. State Farm, Mary Kay, Hilton, Dell, Southwest, Vortex, Amazon, Apple, Costco. All right. So folks, they have done something different. And I'm going to challenge you to realize they've done the two things that we're going to talk about in a few minutes. And they've done them so well that they have won your loyalty. So now, with that in mind, go ahead now on page 1, item number 1 on page 1. Loyal customers do 4 things, folks, and I think you probably understand this already, but let me just run through them. I want you to write them in 1, 2, 3, 4 on the 4 lines on number 1. Let me pick Costco, okay? Because I'm loyal to Costco, I come back again and again. So write come back on line number 1, all right? And when I'm in Costco, I end up buying more than I planned on. And mainly because they offer me those free treats and stuff. So you end up bringing home frozen burritos you never planned to eat again. But they know how to. In fact, a friend of mine went to Costco and he bought one item, an apple pie. And when he went to the line, the cashier, he said, "Do I get a prize?" And she goes, "Why?" He said, "I'm only buying one thing at Costco." And she says, "Oh, we don't allow that. Go back." Of course, she was joking. But they don't allow you to get one thing, right? So now this is a huge one, folks. This is what we want the most. We want your customers to refer their friends. So write that in. They want to tell everybody, go to Costco, go to State Farm, go to whatever, whatever those companies were that you guys recommended. All right. And then because they have a vested interest in your success, they will offer feedback and suggestions to you. They're willing to do that. I filled out a couple of cards, dropped them in at Costco, and the manager of the Costco called me personally to tell me he was going to get this product in for me. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This is what we want. That is why I said this is the magic wand. The more people you have doing these 4 things, the more successful you will be. So let's figure out how to do it. All right. So now here's an interesting thing. 80% of CEOs think their company delivers superior customer experience. Oh yeah, we're great. But actually only 8% of the customers agree they do. So there's this gap between what people believe their companies are delivering and what the customers think. And we have to close this gap. And I'll show you a quick way to measure that. So how do we measure loyalty? Well, if you're like me, I hate getting these long surveys in the mail or in email. Please, 2 weeks ago you were at a restaurant or whatever, how, blah, 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 blah. And they give you like 20 questions and I just delete them. Because first of all, they're not asking it close enough in my memory bank. And secondly, I don't have time to answer 20 questions. So because of that, a guy named Fred Reichheld wrote a book. I highly recommend this book, The Ultimate Question 2.0. How Net Promoter Companies Thrive in a Customer-Driven World. And so what he said is there's really only one question you need to ask your customers. And we're going to do this with an actual activity in a chat. I want you to think of a recent restaurant experience, not fast food. I'm talking a sit-down restaurant that you went to. And I want you to think of your experience in this in number 2. And here is the Net Promoter Score question. Based on your experiences there, how likely is you'd recommend that restaurant to a friend or colleague? Someone comes down and says, "Hey, where should we eat? What is the name of the restaurant and what is the number?" Would you please write that in? So just write in, Olive Garden, and I give them a 6 or whatever. So just write that in, and then Sarah's going to call off some numbers and some restaurants. Go ahead.
I'll call off mine first. I said brick oven, and I'll give them an 8.
Okay, great.
We have Sir Latin Street Food 10. Yamato 6. Milagros 8. Five Guys 8. Medici 7. Smokehouse Bistro 9. Ginger's Garden Cafe 9. Thai House 9.
Oh, we got some good restaurants out there. Wow.
Applebee's Fresh 8. Milagros 10, Macaroni Grill, Kona Hawaii 5. Zupa's 9.
All right, that's enough for us to get the feel for what I'm going to teach you. All right, so what happens is when you give your customers, let's say this restaurant, now here's the key, folks. They need to ask you at the moment of service with a simple card. I'll show you an image of it in just a minute. How likely is it you'd recommend it? Well, when you do that, people that give you a 9 or a 10 are what we call promoters. They're out there saying, eat at Joe's, man, we love it. People that give you a 7 or 8 are passive, all right? So they're just passive. But if they give you a 6 or below, you got a real problem because they're what we call detractors. And what you do is you take the percentage of 9s and 10s, your promoters, you subtract the detractors, and you get a net promoter score, NPS. That's all. And all you have to do then is write on the card, ask them why. Why did you give us that score? So right now we won't do that because of time, but you could say it's Zupa's because they have wonderful sandwiches and they have friendly service or they're clean or whatever. So this is a simple way to measure satisfaction. Now, or you can do it this way the next time you're in a restaurant. Written in ketchup and mustard, we waited 30 minutes, no service. I'm just waiting to do this, man. I just think that'd be so cool to leave a note like this. But customers will tell you what's going on, all right? Now, this was a pizza I brought home from a pizza parlor in Springdale. I took a picture of it in the box. Now, it was inedible. Half of it was burnt, the other half was soggy. And so, of course, I would give them a 1 if they're lucky. And I would never recommend that pizza parlor to anybody, all right? And they didn't even try to, they just covered it up and handed it to me. So I couldn't do anything about it once I got home. So this is not a good way to win loyalty, right? So what is a good net promoter score? Well, it's going to be somewhere between minus 100 if everybody hates you and plus 100 if everybody is a promoter. Now, remember, you don't count the 7 and 8 because they are not helping or hurting you. So so what do you think yours is now? Before I ask you this, here's the top ones that SurveyMonkey and others have measured. USAA, I told you about them, an insurance company, Costco, Apple, Dillard's, Nordstrom's, Amazon, blah, blah, blah. Folks, if you can get above 70, you're world class. I mean, really great, because you're always going to have some detractors, no matter how good you are. But what we're trying to do is get out of the 7 and 8s and get to the 9s and 10s, and we're going to learn how to do that today. So how loyal are your customers now? So go to the next page on the same page, number 3. Now, I won't necessarily ask you to share this in a chat, but if you were a customer coming into your store or your business and had a normal everyday experience with your products and services, what do you think most people are going to give you? All right. Are they going to be a loyal, or do you think they're going to be like, yeah, they're pretty good, 7, 8. Now, remember, you're going to have people all over the scale. But how well would you recommend it? So even at BYU, how likely is it you'd recommend BYU to someone wanting to go to college? Whatever it is, or the church. The experiences that we have here are very interesting. So just think about that, and maybe you want to actually experiment with this week. So now, so how do you get to a 10? That's what we're going to be talking about. What are the pain points? How do we fix them? And how do we eliminate them? So what do businesses do that make you loyal? Here's a new chat, all right? So what is loyalty to you? I mean, if you go to a business and they win your loyalty, how do they win your loyalty? So please chat, please add some items in the chat. How would I win your loyalty? So performance when it's important. I can see these now, by the way, Sarah. Do what they say. Yeah, Randy, I'm a person to them. I'm not a customer. I'm a human being. I like that one. No hassle returns. Thank you, Mike. I mean, do you need a receipt signed by God in the last 14 days? Above and beyond, acknowledge quickly, be kind. Just treat me with respect and kindness. Listen to me. They smile. Friendly, kind service. Remember who I am. Oh, Steve, that's huge. You come in a second time, they go, hey, Steve, welcome back. You're just going, wow, they remembered who I am. I'll tell you a story about that on a cruise line that I had. So as you see these answers appear, you see that it's a little different for different people. Some customers just want to get in and out. That's good enough for them. Others really want the kindness and friendliness. Remember who I am. And so leave me feeling good. John, I'm going to leave that. I'm going to change that. Leave me feeling great. Good is probably an 8. Great is a 9 or a 10. And we'll talk about that in a few minutes. Tat with the sweet attention. Okay. Mike, what does tat mean to you? I don't understand tat. Treat? Okay. Well, anyway. Okay. Oh, okay. Great. Fabrizio, go the extra mile to satisfy. No. Loyalty, Fabrizio. Okay. So folks, there we go. So now I've seen some funny things. I'll be in Alaska. I'll be in Juneau, Alaska at the end of July. And I always go to the Red Dog Saloon. It's a real fun place to go. They got sawdust on the floor and a one-armed man that plays the piano and all this stuff. But I get a kick out of this big sign, 3 foot high on the wall. If our food, drinks, and service aren't up to your standards, please lower your standards. Now, of course, it's a joke, but folks, we can't ask our customers to lower their standards to where they're happy with us. We got to keep up in the game. So now here's a major point, folks. You can't differentiate with products anymore. Your competitors already have the same stuff. And even if you come up with something new, they're going to duplicate it in no time. So you really can't stand out with products. You'll get to satisfaction with products. So you really stand out with your people. Your people are your only advantage. And that's why the founder of Zappos said, I'd rather spend money on things that improve the customer experience than on marketing. My friends, one loyal customer will do more for you than a billboard on the freeway. I've never bought anything off a billboard. It might give you brand awareness, but people talking about you is what brings your customers in. We've got to work on the customer experience, and I'm going to give you some ideas. Now, this is a very important point. We also have a loyalty factor with our employees. And by the way, I have a free survey I would set up for you inside your company. And it measures all kinds of things about your culture. And I do this at no cost, no obligation. I just love to help companies understand. But one of the questions is how likely is you'd recommend working here? And it's anonymous survey, and the same thing that happens. 9s and 10s. Some people are, okay, I'm happy working there. Other people were a 7 or are down here. Now you can understand the connection here, folks. That same thing, you get the employee net promoter score. And you cannot have a low employee loyalty and have those people give great service. If they are hating their job, work is day prison, you're admitted at 8 and paroled at 5. If work is day prison, I can tell that as a customer because it's how they treat me. So now you have the opportunity of number 4. And again, I won't ask you to contribute this on the chat for personal reasons, but if you really were to rate working where you work at BYU or at wherever you're at, or how likely is you'd recommend working for them? Your best friend says, hey, there's a job there. So I want you to circle that. If you would like to do this with all of your staff, just email me. I'll set the survey up on SurveyMonkey. Very interesting. Okay, so now these two are totally connected, my friends. You can't have a low employee loyalty score and expect great service out of those people. It's just not going to happen. And that's why I teach leadership, The job of leadership is that one. Because as a leader, your most important customer is your staff. And how you treat them, motivate them, excite them, envision them, will directly contribute to the customer experience. All right, so now, here are, if you would like me to send these to you, I would be happy to in a PDF. But you just have 2 cards. The yellow one measures customer service. The green one measures staff member loyalty. What do we do well? What can we do differently to make it better? And they can provide a response or not. But whatever you do, measure these right away. Measure these as the person is leaving the store or the business. Because a week later, a month later, they're not going to remember unless it was really bad, and then they'll hose you, right? So very simple, 3 questions. Based on your experience, what do we do well? What can we do differently? By the way, never ask people, what can we do better? Just ask, what can we do differently? It's a different question entirely than never ever ask anybody, what can I do better? Just ask, what can I do differently? I don't care if it's as a wife, a husband, anything, you know, just, it's a good question. All right, so let's move on now and really get into this. So Walt Disney said, we will do what we do so well that the people who see it will want to see it again and bring friends. I grew up near Disneyland. I've been there dozens of times in my life. And no matter how often I go, I want to go back. And when my grandchildren turn 8, they get a trip to Disneyland with grandma and grandpa. And I just love to go there. But let me tell you about an interesting experience. My wife, Denise, it was her birthday. And this is about 10 years ago. And if it's your birthday, they put a little thing on you that says happy birthday, and they write your name on it. And she got so many, happy birthday, Denise, happy birthday, Denise. In fact, they gave her the free beignets at the little restaurant there. And, you know, but what was really an amazing experience was that we were watching the Disney parade and the Christmas parade. And we were about one of 50,000 people. And a little cheery voice called out from the last float, happy birthday, Denise. It was Mrs. Claus, found my wife and wished her a happy birthday. It didn't stop there. I can't believe I got this picture. Santa turned around and said, happy birthday and Merry Christmas, Denise. She wasn't just a visitor to Disneyland. She was Denise, and it was her birthday. Now, let me tell you something, folks. This is not magic. They create a system for doing this. So the next time I went, I saw that they have a spotter walking along next to Santa or next to the princesses on their floats. And they're looking for people in the audience. And Santa's wearing a headpiece, an earpiece. And all they have to do is say, Denise birthday lavender dress, shirt. He looks around and he sees the little button. He doesn't have to have magnifying glass. Now, folks, can you imagine what that does? When you have systems that magical? Well, anyway, so is your customer experience become technical than human? We've got to get the human, and that's what we're going to be talking about next. Now, Stephen Covey was a dear friend and mentor of mine up till he passed away. And I remember he said, organizations don't behave, people behave. People are what we're trying to change the behavior for. And it takes a team. This is not a time for these guys climbing Mount Everest to quit. The guy in the yellow, oh, I don't want to do this. He's going to pull everybody back and everybody down. So it takes a team to work together. So now, let's hit a couple of points and then get into our activity. So what are the 3 keys of great customer service? So go to the next page, 2, and at the top, number 6, I want you to write these keys in. The first key is attitude. So write attitude in. I teach about how to do interviewing. And Southwest Airlines says, I talked to the HR vice president, and she said, Kevin, we hire for attitude and train for skill. And I recommend that, folks. Make sure that any interview you have, it doesn't matter if a person's had 10 years of experience if they have a bad attitude. So attitude is the first thing. Do you love your customers? Do you love people? Do you love to serve? Do you know, that's your attitude. The second one is skills. This guy could have a great attitude about juggling, but if he doesn't know how to juggle, he's not going to be able to do very well. So we need attitude plus skills plus your processes. And the processes are critical because you can have someone with an attitude and skill, but if your return policy isn't working, forget it. We'll talk about that in a minute. In fact, John Goodman says 80% of customers' problems are caused by bad systems, not bad people. In other words, we have good people, but we put them in archaic systems. And Stephen said, if you put really great people in really poor systems, the systems win every time. So, and a lot of our systems are this stuff right here. Now, if we had our whole workshop going on right now, we could really discuss this, but these are pictures of petrified dinosaur dung, dinosaur poop, millions of years old, right? And I promise you that your organization has this stuff in it. It's a policy or procedure or system that's just poop and it's just become petrified. You can make it look pretty, you can polish it up, but it's still crap, folks, no matter what you do with it. Now, there's two types of this. Number one is it's a policy, system, or procedure that stunk when it was first conceived, and it's just become petrified over time. The second one is it's a policy or procedure that once had value 10, 15 years ago, but it's now archaic, cumbersome, ridiculous, and inhibiting. And folks, with COVID changing the world, you got to look at your systems because people are not going to put up with this stuff. And now the sound of either one is, I don't know, it's the way we've always done it. So remember, people created it and people can eliminate it. So you got to look at this stuff. And by the way, sometimes I'm going to ask this question. Why is it that your newest employees are often the ones who sniff this stuff out? So somebody said, why is your newest employees are the ones that are going to find this stuff?
They have a different background, and so they have new ideas and they're coming in with a new perspective.
Yeah, they haven't been there long enough to become part of the terrain, right? So anyway, so good answer. All right, so how much is lying around your organization? Take it back and think about it. Your youngest or newest staff members will smell it first. Okay, so Albert Einstein said the definition of insanity is to continue to do what you're doing and expect to get different results. We have to change. I talk about the 3 Ps: product, people, processes. Your products plus your people and your processes. And we have to be challenging and fixing all of them. Okay, whew. All of that has been leading up to the title of my book, Customers Only Want 2 Things. And we're going to learn what these are, and then we're going to actually work with them in our activity. So at the bottom of page 1, go back to page 1, customers only want 2 things. 1, 2. The first one is solve my problem. So write that in. Folks, all businesses exist to solve problems. If there were no problems, there would be no businesses. If no one was ever hungry, there would never be restaurants or grocery stores. So fundamentally, you've got to solve the customer's problem, but they expect that. So it gets satisfaction at best, typically. Solve my problem. So people expect you to solve it. Doing so doesn't create loyalty, just satisfaction, get you 7 or 8. And this is true in government or nonprofit organizations. It's true with churches. It's true with the city you live in. It doesn't matter. You've got to solve the people's problems. Now, I really love this quote by a Harvard business professor. People who buy power drills do not necessarily want a 1/4-inch drill. They want a 1/4-inch hole. Think of your products as the drill, but people aren't wanting the product. They want the product to do something. So what is the real hole that our company provides? And what are their real problems? You've got to put this, and it should be in your mission statement. And, you know, in the Army, they talk, the Army's mission statement is to fight and win our nation's wars, you know. That's the whole. Our country needs to be defended. So we really have to say, what is the real hole that our company provides people? Now, they didn't do that at that pizza parlor. They certainly didn't solve my problem. So I'm definitely, now, even if they gave me great service, which they didn't, I'm not going to do that. Now, this is really cool. I was driving in Linden, Utah, and I saw the back of the police truck for Cottonwood Heights. It was parked on the side of the road. Look what it says on his bumper. Solve the problem. Wouldn't it be wonderful if a police officer walked out, looked at this bumper and said, what is the problem I need to solve here? And thinks about that, solve the problem. I love that. I work with police departments. I'm doing the police department here in Springville, Utah, and I'm going to show them this picture and talk about what are the problems our citizens want us to solve. Okay, so there you go. Now the second one is where we're going to go, folks. Leave me feeling great about the experience. So everyone write in, leave me feeling great. Not good, great. That's why I talked to John. No, John, you want great. And underneath that, be uniquely nice to me. In other words, I'm special. I'm Kevin. I'm Mike. I'm so-and-so. Be uniquely nice to me, not just next, next, next. So here's some pictures of people being uniquely nice, I think. Obviously, there's a lot going on here. This woman's being kind to the little child, being unique. You know, you could see these things happening. So I speak on cruise ships, and I had an experience about 15 years ago that I'll never forget. We really liked this waiter, and he found out we didn't drink alcohol. So by the second night, he wouldn't even put the wine glasses out. So we didn't have to explain it over and over to the wine steward. And that was impressive. And we liked him, so we went back to his table. It was open seating. But about 18 months later, we walked on another vessel in that same cruise line, and the waiter had moved onto that ship. When we walked in the first night, he said, Kevin, Denise, you're back. He said, they're mine. He pulled our chairs out and said, and you don't drink alcohol. 18 months later, 1,000 passengers later. And if that wasn't unique, I don't know what is. Anyway, I wrote about that in my book. Okay, so Rudy Giuliani said hope is not a strategy. He didn't invent this, but he made it popular. Folks, hoping that your business gets better is not a strategy. We have to do something different. Hope gets you up in the morning, but hope is not a strategy. And so this is where we're going to get to the activity now. Okay, I told you that I have these decks of cards. I actually have 7 different decks, depending on the type of client. But we're going to talk, I've given you a sample of the main deck, the one that goes with the customer program. And I've given you 16 cards of the 33. There's 33 in the deck. Now, this is what we're going to do with this activity. So everybody has, I hope, has this printed out. If it doesn't, just look at the screen, okay? I'm going to give you about 3 minutes here or so to read each of these 16 cards and put an O, S, or R above each one, like I show on my PowerPoint. Often, sometimes, or rarely. So do you smile and greet every customer? If you do that, often put O. If it's sometimes, put S. If you don't do that very often, put an R. Be honest about yourself. So everybody put O, S, and R on the top of each of the 16 cards, and I will give you a couple minutes to do this. Often, sometimes, rarely. O, S, R. Okay, that's probably enough time. But go ahead if you're not finished. But folks, there's some power cards on this one, on this page. Not all of them are equally powerful. In my experience, number 4, using their name at least twice. Number 5, if they come in again and you remember their name. Number 7, stop, look, and listen to someone. These are very powerful. Number 10, giving compliments. And probably the most difficult one, the easiest one is number 13. You can pick up trash. The hardest one is to never just quit talking trash. Say nothing negative about a coworker, customer, the weather, nothing. Just positive attitude, right? Okay, so here's the next thing I want you to do. I want you to pick 3 of these and put check marks in the boxes of those 3 cards, and we're going to share them on a chat, the card numbers. So you can see I put a check mark in number 14, say nothing negative about someone. If you were to pick 3 of these, what would you like to start with today? This is your commitment leaving our webinar. You're going to go out and do these, right? So everybody choose 3. And then in the chat, I want you to write in the card numbers. So, and I'm going to prove a point here about this workshop, having done it with thousands of people. All right, so everybody just write in card 4, 8, 9, 10, 13, 14, whatever. Okay, 4, 5, and 14. 8, 10, and 4, Brian. 1, 6, and 7, Fabrizio. 1, 4, 6, Randy said. 5. Four, 10, and 14. I'm glad to see 14 appearing. It's a tough one. A lot of number 4s using the name Powerful. Okay, Mike and Ghana is going to do 8, 11, and 16. Okay. Be kind to elderlies and retirees. That's a good one, Mike. 1, 4, and 8. 1, 4, and 6, Gina. Okay, it looks like most people have chimed in on this thing. All right. Now, folks, you'll notice that none of you have the exact same. And this proves a point. Some of you may know the leader who said, I teach them correct principles and they govern themselves. And you know who that was, most of you. Folks, I can always tell when I go in a store and they've trained people like dogs to do these 3 things because it's robotic and it's not sincere. But I've done thousands of these decks. And everyone, what happens in the workshop is they take the whole deck and they lay them out in 3 piles. And then they make their plan, which we'll talk about in a moment. And I have never seen the same 3 or 5 from anyone, because you're going to do this differently. How you feel you need to do. So it's motivational to give people choices and give them agency. So now you go to page 6. And this is your action plan. Now, this would normally be a card that we hand out in the workshop. But I want you to write those in on numbers 1, 2, and 3, or wherever. Just write them in there, 1, 2, 3. So, and you can just write the card number, or you can write a few words, like use the person's name twice, be nice to retirees, you know, just enough words that you can remember it, and put those in on the card. All right. I'll give you just another half minute here to write those in. This becomes your commitment. We don't want to just chatty chat here in this webinar. We want action. And so I, Mike Kennedy, will do the following. I, Kevin Miller, will do the following. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now, if you notice on the right, there are 21 boxes next to each of the commitments. If you do something 21 times, it becomes a habit. And at the bottom, Will Durant said, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence there then is not an act, but a habit. So if you exercise for 21 days every day, it will feel like a habit on day 22. And if you use the person's name twice, 21 times, it will become natural for you to do that. And so this becomes a scoreboard. And it's really fun to then share these with each other on the team. And I did this for an auto dealership in Orem. And they actually put these up on the wall and people check off every day what they did. And it was really fun because you could see what your friends are doing. It's really awesome. So what if everyone in the department did one a day? So now I'm going to ask you a question. If you were to pick one card that you had everyone concentrate on, in addition to their own selection, what card would you most like to see? And I'll give an example, then I'll have you chat it in. I worked with a city government team and they chose number 14, and I sell these in a poster size, about 14 inches by 18 inches or something. And they put it up on the wall because they had a big problem with a lot of negative talk around the city offices. So they put it up and they concentrated on it. And the city manager said that focusing on this one behavior changed the whole feeling and culture of the offices in 1 week because everybody quit trash talking. It was their commitment. So I would like to ask you now, which of those 16 cards would you like to see everyone on your team focus on? And go ahead and put that number in the chat. So she says number 10. Number 10, good. Number 14, yeah, Steve, that is so huge. Number 15. Now, of course, this is something you do with your whole group. In a workshop, or anyway, 14 would be impossible. It's really hard. You just start trash talking, and you're right. It just creeps in, negative talk, and it's Mike chose 6 for over there in Ghana for his company. I see number 10 a lot, which is kind of cool. Let me go back to that. That's give more compliments today. Yeah, that's good. Everyone loves compliments, folks. I've concentrated on doing this a lot now, just complimenting people. And it just causes people to just brighten up. Okay, number 12, go out of your way in a special way. Dave thought that was a good one. So awesome. Okay, I think we've proved the point now, and that's the team application. Now, I actually have a number of these decks: citizens, call centers, realtors, hospitality. I have them for teachers. I'll be doing a big teaching conference in 10 days from now, and I have them for youth and elementary. And by the way, these bottom ones you can get off my website. If you have a child in K-12, K-6 or 7-12, you might want to get these cards. I think it's the best anti-bullying program there is. Instead of telling kids not to bully, give them 33 things they can do and have them concentrate on them. One of them on the youth card is go home tonight and compliment your mother or your caregiver for a great dinner or something. I mean, mother would probably faint. But there's just all these. Make a friend with a new student today, help someone with their homework, read a book to a younger child. So, and then I have them for hospitality and all this kind of stuff. So depending on the group I'm teaching, I bring different decks. All right. And I have a leadership deck, which is also available on my website at the store. This is 36 ways to be a great and inspiring leader. And you do the same thing with this. And so, and I use these in my leadership training. Do this one thing. I gave this deck to a 4-star general about 18 months ago at Fort Leavenworth. And he went through it and he said, Kevin, this is fantastic. I'm going to do this one right now. And he put it in his pocket. And he was a 4-star general. So anyway, there's the decks. So as we close now, folks, a couple points. Take care of each other. Folks, charity never faileth. That's a scripture. It never fails. Charity, kindness. It will not fail you. It may not change the other person, but it keeps you from becoming infected with negativity. So charity never faileth. And remember, everyone is your customer. One of the hardest things I have is convincing teachers that that kids in their classrooms are their customers. One teacher said, they're not my customers. I said, absolutely they are. And so treat everyone. Your spouse is your customer. Your kids are your customer. Everyone wants this. Leave me feeling great, solve my problems, and leave me feeling great about being with you. So take care of each other. Now, I also have one more thing I'd like to teach you, and that's on page 5 at the top. There's a there's a way to make a connection with someone instantly. In the first 3 seconds of meeting someone, notice their eye color. So right now, if Gina came up to me or Chet, you don't stare in their eyes, you just notice their eye color. This makes a contact. Then point your heart to them, turn your body so your heart is pointing at their heart, heart to heart. And then you get them talking and keep them talking. Remember, it's more important to be interested than interesting. Your goal is to open them up, be a great listener while they tell you what they need. How can you solve the problem without really listening? Make a short statement. Hey, it's nice to see you today, Kevin. What brings you in today? And short statement, open question. Anyway, so, and the other information at the bottom of that page is if you want this whole workshop for your team, that's how to contact me. But let me show you a picture of these two doing this right. Notice he's noticed her eye color. He's pointing his heart to her and he's getting her talking. And try that even with your spouse or your kids, or just notice that. It's amazingly powerful. So now you have an action plan, my friends. Make progress on it. Take it back. And here's one I did a number of years ago. I love number 30, PPA all day, project a positive attitude. You know, anyway, so there's your plan. So now I would like you in the chat to type in one behavior you're going to leave. You're now going to say, I'm really going to do this. It's either one of the cards or something else we talked about. So would you, everyone just type, if you took one thing home, because we're getting to the end here, after this webinar, what are you going to work on? So everyone, please chime in the one thing you would like to take from what we learned today. Heart to heart, Miguel. Yeah. Turn your heart to people. Over and over. First impressions over and over, Steve. Expand my idea of who my customers are. Great. Stop, look, and listen. And that, more important, somebody once said you'll make more friends in 3 days by being interested in others than you will in a lifetime of being interesting yourself. Yay, grandkids, John. Mine just spent the night last night, and I spent the whole time. Use their names. Folks, I can tell we learned some things. Now, if you believe these things, see that you do them is another scripture I like. Come up with one idea each day to improve something. That's good. So we've got some really good ideas. And I can tell that the folks on the workshop came away with this. If you're watching the recording, you can do this as well when we record. So yeah, stop referring to company policy. Mike, nobody, when you use the word policy, customers only think through two things: change your stupid policy or make an exception for me. Nobody ever said, oh, thank you for telling me that's your policy. Doesn't work. Anyway, so we've had some fun today and our time is just about up. But I don't want you to get discouraged. Learn from this mother duck. She's teaching us a very important lesson. She's a leader, she's got followers, but she walks them into the wind past a building. It gets worse. Does that feel like you by 10 in the morning some days, right? Nobody gets hurt. They're little fluff balls, a little dizzy. But what I love is it only takes her 8 seconds to get them all back together. And she says, well, that system didn't work, so I will take them in a different direction. She didn't fly off and say, I quit being a mother. She just learned. So folks, get your ducks in a row, take them in the right direction. That's your vision, your mission, your values, your goals, your strategy. And when you get blown around, just regroup and drive on. So if you'd like the full meal deal, I'm going to talk about doing this through the Management Society. We're doing it in Taiwan. We have a translator in Taiwan that's going to translate this whole thing and teach it because 30 people wanted the whole thing. So it might be something we could do, or you can contact me. And you get these specialty cards. I have all these specialty cards like difficult guests, cashiers, receptionists, call centers. These are bigger cards that have more ideas on them. So I'd like to close with 2 great quotes. Maya Angelou was a delightful soul, passed away some years ago. Just a beautiful woman. And she said, they may not remember what you said, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. I want you to just read that. If we're going to create Zion, if we're going to create unity, it's through feelings, folks. And last night I had 4 of my grandchildren stay overnight. And they just left at 10 o'clock this morning. And I know my grandchildren will not remember what I said, but they will always remember how Grandpa made them feel. And that's all I cared about. And that's what we need to do with our customers, our spouse, our friends, our neighbors. How'd you make them feel? And I think you left today with some good ideas. The other one is Mother Teresa. There are no great things, only small things done with great love. Mother Teresa. Folks, maybe there isn't anything great left, just small things done with great love. And that is your best way to have a happy life, to build unity, and create customer experiences that are that magic wand I talked about at the beginning. So thanks for participating. Now, we have about 5 minutes to 1. So I would like, if anyone would like to ask a question, you can either just chime in and ask me, or you can leave the workshop now if you'd like. But is there anybody who would like to make a comment or a question, or you can put it in the chat room and I'll answer that. Or a comment, go ahead.
Kevin, are you okay if I use those Net Promoter Score surveys, those simple surveys you put up?
Absolutely. And if you'd like me, you can make your own, but if you'd like, I have a PDF of those 2 cards that I could send you. And you just print them off on some cardstock and start using them. So just email me, kevin@visionbound.com, and I'd be happy to send those files to you. It's a great, simple way. Just remember to do it while the people's experience is fresh. And some of you wonder what your kids would say to that. You know, just interesting. Okay, no problem. Happy to do that.
Thank you.
Anybody have anything else you'd like to ask, or an experience you'd like to share? I'm going to stop sharing right now and bid you all farewell. I'm grateful to have been here today, and I love the Management Society, and I'm doing this again. I did it yesterday for a Chamber of Commerce in Vernal, Utah, and it went really well with them, and I'm doing it for London and a couple others. But I would like to just show you one final thing. This is my favorite training toy in all the world, the Hoberman sphere. We don't want to be this good, folks, when we can be this great. And I love this because it illustrates change, but it illustrates how its change requires unity. Every one of these parts, let me back up a little bit. Every one of these is doing their part for this ball to grow. And this is your team. First of all, leaders need to say, what does this look like? What does great look like? But then you've got to get everybody. Now, no one is going in the exact same vector. They're all going in a different direction, but they're working together. What happens if some department gets stuck? See what happens when I stick one part of this? The whole ball is constrained, isn't it? Even two employees with a bad attitude can hold back the whole team. Two people, even one person. We have to get everyone excited and united. And we don't do that by just yelling at them and telling them get better. We give them tools and ideas. And that's what I do when I train. I teach practical things. And this workshop gave you some practical ideas that I hope will make a difference to you. So God bless all of you. Thank you for learning today. Again, my email is kevin@visionbound.com. That's my website. I would be happy to answer questions. Oh, also, Chet, I am going to have you draw randomly the names of two people who attended, and I will send you my book. Okay, two people. I'll mail it to you. So Chet just has to give me. I'll email who it is, just random, and then I'll email you, get your address, and I'll send it to you. I also will draw two people for my deck of cards, the full deck. Okay. So Chet will send me 4 names, 2 for the book and 2 for the cards. I will mail those to you. And so thank you, everybody. And I'll turn it back over to Chet or Sarah.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. We learned a lot, so thank you, thank you.